The phone screen lit up just as I was cross-referencing the quarterly sales figures. It was a multimedia message from an unknown number. I tapped it open without thinking. The video began to play. The camera work was a bit shaky, but the image was crystal clear. Chloe Vane, the girlfriend I'd been with for 3 years, the woman I was saving up to buy a house and marry, was in a dimly lit restaurant booth, locked in a passionate embrace with another man. I knew the guy, Todd Barrows, the one she always described as just a buddy. They were kissing deeply, Chloe's arms wrapped tight around his neck. The clip was short. At the end, a location pin was attached. A budget motel downtown. The timestamp showed it was from last night. A text followed immediately from the sender. Bro, your woman tastes great. Thanks. There was no anger, no shock, not even a spike in my heart rate. A strange, glacial coldness started in my chest and spread rapidly to my limbs. It turns out that when a person is truly disappointed, they really do become as cold as ice. I always knew Chloe and Todd were close. Dinners, gaming sessions. She always had a million excuses. I thought it was just her exercising her social freedom. Now I saw it for what it was, my own stupidity. That provocative text was just the final straw that broke the camel's back, utterly pulverizing the last shred of hope and warmth I held for her. I closed the message. I didn't block the number, nor did I reply. My finger swiped across the screen, and I made my first call to my department head, Mr. Sterling. Mr. Sterling, about that transfer project to the Alaska branch you mentioned, the 1-year term? I've thought it over. I'll take it. My voice was as steady as a flat line, as if I were commenting on the nice weather. Mr. Sterling was surprised, but quickly shifted to approval. Great. Ethan, I really admire your drive. The conditions up there are a bit tough, but it's a golden opportunity. Get your things ready. I'll have HR fast-track the paperwork. Thanks, Mr. Sterling. I hung up and made my second call. To Chloe. It rang several times before she picked up. The background noise was loud. She was out partying again. Her tone carried her usual impatience. What? I'm shopping with the girls. If you have something to say, make it quick. Let's break up, I said. The line went silent for 2 seconds before exploding. Ethan Cole, have you lost your mind? What did you say? I said, we're done. I repeated, my tone remaining calm. Listen clearly. From this moment on, you and I have nothing to do with each other. Why? You have to give me a reason. Her voice turned shrill. A reason? I looked at the number on my screen and laughed cold inside. But I didn't mention the video. I just said, no reason. I'm bored of it. That's all. Before she could scream again, I hung up and decisively dragged her contact into the block list. The world was quiet. I leaned back in my office chair, took a deep breath, and sat up straight. Emotions? Those are for people who deserve them. For those who don't, the only thing to do is protect yourself. I opened my computer and started backing up all chat logs with Chloe, especially those proving our cohabitation and the significant expenses I'd covered for a shared life. Then I mentally inventoried my personal property in the apartment, laptop, camera, some stocks and bonds. Finally, I transferred all my liquid savings into a separate bank account only I knew about. Time skipped to the next day. Just as work ended, before I could even leave the office building, I saw Chloe storming in aggressively. Trailing behind her were her inseparable squad of girlfriends, all wearing expressions that said they were ready for a show. Ethan, you freeze right there. Chloe rushed up to me, her voice loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. Her face was a mix of anger and grievance, as if I had committed some unforgivable crime. You explained this to me clearly. Why are you dumping me? And blocking me? Is there someone else? Her friends immediately chimed in, a chorus of accusation. Yeah, Ethan, Chloe gave your best years. 3 years. And you just dump her. A grown man acting so petty? Zero responsibility. He definitely found someone else. No conscience at all. Colleagues slowed down, their gazes drifting over us. I looked at them like I was watching a bad reality TV show. When their voices died down a bit, I spoke, not loudly, but clearly enough to be heard. I made myself very clear. We're done. The reason? I don't need to explain anything to you. As for blocking you, I paused looking at Chloe. I don't want any more harassment from irrelevant people. You, Chloe choked on my words, her face flushing red. Ethan, you bastard. I'm telling you, you can't just dumb me like this. If you don't explain, I'm not done with you. She stepped forward, reaching out to grab my arm. I took a step back, dodging her. Chloe. I looked her in the eyes, saying her name for the last time. Let's part with some dignity. With that, I ignored her frozen expression and the stunned looks of her friends, turned around, and walked straight for the exit. Behind me came Chloe's frustrated shriek and faint sobbing. I knew this wasn't over. With her personality, the crazier revenge was likely still to come. But bring it on. I was ready. Yesterday's lobby standoff obviously didn't make Chloe give up. She probably thought I was just venting in anger, or maybe she simply couldn't accept that I, the guy who always gave her whatever she wanted, actually dared to walk away. The next afternoon, I had just finished a meeting with the project team, rubbing my throbbing temples as I walked out, when I saw Chloe and her shadow squad blocking the door to our department. She had changed tactics today. No screaming. Instead, her eyes were swollen, playing the pitiable victim who had suffered a massive injustice. Ethan. As soon as she saw me, she stepped up, her voice trembling with tears, reaching for my arm. Can we just talk? I know I can be a little demanding sometimes, but I really can't live without you. Don't go to Alaska, okay? Let's just go back to how we were. I sidestepped her hand, my eyes cold. There's nothing to talk about. I made myself clear yesterday. Ethan, how can you be like this? The friend in the red dress next to her couldn't hold back, her tone full of rebuke. Chloe is begging you this humbly. You're a man. Can't you be a little more big-hearted? Another friend with short hair immediately jumped in. Exactly. 3 years of a relationship, and you toss it away? You have no sense of loyalty. Breaking up like this, what is Chloe supposed to do? What will her parents think? So stingy. Call yourself a man. A third one muttered, quiet but piercing. Moral kidnapping, verbal ridicule. It was the same old recipe. They formed a circle, standing on a moral high ground to judge me. Colleagues around us didn't crowd in, but their eyes kept darting over, whispering. I didn't have the energy to waste breath on these delusional people. I just wanted to leave. Reasoning with them was like playing piano to a cow. Move, I said, my voice dropping an octave. Seeing that I was impenetrable, the sorrow on Chloe's face couldn't hold, quickly replaced by anger. Ethan, do you have to be this heartless? Just then, 2 guys from my project team, Big Mike and Danny, came back from smoke break downstairs. Seeing the formation, their brows furrowed immediately. Big Mike had a short fuse. He pushed right past the girlfriends. Ladies, if you have something to say, say it. Blocking the office door? What is this? Big Mike stood in front of me, his tone less than polite. Danny stood by my side too, addressing Chloe. Chloe, you can't force feelings. Since Ethan made a decision, can't you guys just split amicably? Why make it so ugly? Chloe was already at her boiling point, seeing someone stand up for me. And it was these 2 losers she never respected, gave her rage a target. She suddenly turned her spear toward Big Mike and Danny, her voice shrill and cutting, slicing through the air like a knife. I'm talking to Ethan. Since when do you 2 scrubs get to interrupt? Who do you think you are? She pointed at Big Mike's nose. A broke wage slave making peanuts. Is this your business? She spun on Danny, eyes full of disdain. And you, look at you, short little Oompa Loompa. Stick to your grunt work instead of playing peacemaker. Do you think you're worthy? I'm telling you, this is between me and Ethan. You bunch of poor losers, get the hell away from me. Interfere again, and I'll have my dad get people to fix you. She cursed fast and viciously, spittle practically flying into Big Mike's face. Big Mike and Danny turned iron gray with anger at the sudden, venomous abuse. Their fists clenched, but because she was a woman, they forced themselves not to strike. The area went instantly silent. Everyone was stunned by Chloe's shrewish outburst, and the anger I had been suppressing finally broke its limit when she screamed, "Poor losers! My brothers, the guys who worked overtime with me, covered for me, and lent me money without a second thought when I was at my lowest." She didn't get to humiliate them. In the split second she was still pointing at Danny's nose, ready to spew more filth, I moved. Without any warning, I lunged forward, my right hand, carrying the weight of a day and night's worth of pent-up fury and disappointment, swung in a wide arc and slapped hard across her face, distorted by her own cruelty. Smack! A crisp, deafening slap exploded in the quiet hallway. The force was so great that Chloe let out a scream, stumbling sideways. If her friends hadn't caught her, she would have hit the floor. Half her face swelled up visibly, a clear 5-finger imprint rising on her skin. She clutched her face, staring at me in disbelief, as if she didn't know who I was. I gave her no chance to breathe or react. I stepped in, almost nose to nose with her, my eyes cold enough to freeze hell. My voice squeezed through my teeth, carrying an undeniable warning. My brothers are not for you to insult. You dare curse them one more time? Chloe was stunned by the slap and terrified by the ferocity she'd never seen in me before. But extreme humiliation quickly washed away the fear. She went crazy, screaming, "Ethan, you dare hit me? I'll kill you." She lunged at me, claws out, aiming for my face. I had anticipated this. The moment she got close, I sidestepped her scratch, lifted my right leg swiftly, and delivered a push kick squarely to her lower abdomen, deliberately avoiding vital organs but using enough force to create distance. Ugh! She took the impact, grunted, and her momentum died instantly. She stumbled backward several steps and landed hard on her backside, her skirt twisting, looking utterly pathetic. She sat on the floor, clutching her stomach, looking up at me with shock, pain, and monstrous resentment. I didn't strike again. I just stood there, looking down at her like she was a pile of hopeless trash. Then I scanned the stunned crowd, her terrified friends and my brothers, who looked vindicated. I made a clear declaration, for Chloe and for everyone. Listen closely. From the moment I said, break up, I, Ethan Cole, and she, Chloe Vane, have absolutely no relationship. Whether she lives or dies has nothing to do with me. And I ask you all, stop associating me with her. With that, I stopped looking at the woman staring daggers at me from the floor and nodded to Big Mike and Danny. Let's go. Lunch. I turned first, parting the crowd and walking toward the elevators. Big Mike and Danny followed immediately. Passing Chloe, Danny even deliberately spat on the ground. Behind us, I heard Chloe's repressed, sobbing curses and her friend's frantic comforting. We walked into the elevator. The metal doors slid shut, cutting off the outside world. Big Mike patted my shoulder, not saying much. Danny, however, looked thrilled. Ethan, that slap was epic. Damn, she needed that reality check ages ago. I pulled a faint smile, but I felt little joy. This certainly wasn't over. I read the look in Chloe's eyes at the end. It wasn't just resentment. It was the madness of someone whose mask had been torn off. She wouldn't let this go, and I was waiting for her. After the scene at the company, I moved straight into Big Mike's place. The transfer paperwork was being expedited. I just wanted to get away from this mess. But I knew Chloe. She wouldn't let me walk away that easily. I still had things in the rental apartment. I'd go back and pack. I deliberately picked a time she was likely to be there. The key slid into the lock, turned, and the door opened. In the living room, Chloe was there, scrolling through her phone with a dark expression. Seeing me enter, she shot up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "You actually have the nerve to come back," she shrieked, eyes still swollen, but the grievance replaced entirely by venom. "Ethan, what the hell is wrong with you? Just because I cursed at your broke friends? You treat me like this?" I tossed the keys onto the shoe rack with a clatter, ignored her, and walked straight to the bedroom to pack my clothes and essentials. She followed me in, relentless, blocking the wardrobe. "Speak. Are you mute? All that sweet talk when you were chasing me, and now that you're bored, you just kick me aside? What am I to you?" I stopped and finally looked up at her. My eyes held no warmth, only utter exhaustion. "Move." That single word, combined with the ice in my gaze, was the final straw for her sanity. Her facial muscles twitched, and she suddenly raised her hand, violently sweeping our only framed photo off the nightstand. The sound of shattering glass was piercing. "Fine. Fine. Ethan, you're ruthless." She was panting, her eyes scanning the bedroom maniacally. Then, like a provoked beast, she started smashing everything within reach. Crash! My limited edition basketball figurine was hurled against the wall, shattering instantly. Thud! The books on the shelf were raked onto the floor. She even jumped onto the bed, stomping on the pillows and duvet, cursing nonstop. "I dare you to break up. I dare you to hit me. You bastard. Scumbag." I stood in the middle of the room, watching the tantrum coldly. The moment she smashed the first photo frame, I'd already stealthily pulled out my phone, set it to record, and placed it in my jacket pocket with the lens peeking out, aimed right at her. The lens steadily recorded her manic behavior, her twisted expression, and the destruction of every item. After venting for a while, she still didn't feel satisfied. Her eyes darted around and landed on a nightstand drawer. She jumped off the bed, yanked the drawer open. Inside was an envelope containing $2,000 in cash, my deposit for the new rental, and some incidental fees for the transfer. Seeing the money, her eyes lit up, followed by a flash of malice. She grabbed the cash, gripping it tight, then turned to glare at me with a twisted, vengeful satisfaction. "Aren't you leaving? Aren't you cutting ties?" She waved the cash. "This money is my compensation for wasted youth." I stood there, phone lens pointed at her and the money, remaining silent. To her, my silence looked like contempt. She shoved the money into her purse, threw a few of her own clothes into a tote bag, and marched toward the door. Passing me, she stopped, glaring viciously. "Ethan, remember this. You leave today, you never come back. Let's see what kind of life you can make out there." Huh. With that, she threw the door open and stormed out, slamming it behind her. Bang! After the loud echo, the room was left with only the wreckage and me. I finally lowered the phone and hit stop. The screen had clearly captured the smashing, the looting, and the threats. Audio and video. Ironclad proof. I quickly checked the footage, confirmed the key moments were clear, encrypted it, and uploaded it to the cloud. She took $2,000. This wasn't a domestic dispute anymore. It was theft and willful destruction of property. I walked to the window and pulled back the curtain to look down. Sure enough, I saw Chloe running out of the building entrance, looking anxiously down the street, clutching the bag with the money. I took a deep breath, grabbed my phone and keys, and quickly went downstairs, keeping a safe distance as I followed her. She didn't take a bus or call an Uber. She waited on the curb for a moment before a familiar beat-up sedan, Todd's car, pulled up. Todd got out of the driver's seat. Chloe immediately threw herself at him, and they hugged right there on the street. I hid in the shadows of the street corner and raised my phone again, zooming in. On screen, Chloe leaned into Todd, appearing to sob. Todd hugged her, comforting her while his eyes darted around nervously. Then, Chloe pulled the thick envelope from her bag and stuffed it into Todd's hand. Todd took the money, pinched it to check the thickness, and a satisfied grin spread across his face. He kissed Chloe on the cheek. My camera clearly captured Chloe's expression change. The pathetic victim act vanished, replaced by a cheap, malicious triumph. She spoke to Todd, her voice not loud, but in the relatively quiet evening street carried by the wind, it drifted faintly into my microphone. He's leaving anyway. Had to fleece him one last time, right? He got off easy. Todd squeezed her waist and pecked her face again, and they shared a vulgar laugh. Then, arms around each other, they turned and walked toward the seedy motel across the street, the exact same one from the location pin Todd had sent me. I watched their backs disappear behind the revolving doors, my eyes freezing over completely. Enough. The chain of evidence was complete. The video of the smashing and theft. The photos and audio of the cash handover, plus the previous provocation video and location from Todd. I stood there, the city lights flowing around me, unable to penetrate the coldness in my eyes. I looked down, unlocked my phone, and without a second of hesitation, dialed 911. It was time to let this farce end the way they deserved. The call connected quickly. I used the most concise, objective language possible to state the situation to the dispatcher. My ex-girlfriend, Chloe Vane, due to a relationship dispute, willfully destroyed my personal property and stole $2,000 in cash. According to my subsequent observation, she met a male, Todd Barrows, handed over the cash outside a motel, and they entered together. Their behavior suggests illicit solicitation using stolen funds. I emphasize that I had video evidence of the vandalism and robbery, as well as photos and partial audio of the cash transfer and entry into the motel. The dispatcher recorded the key information and informed me that officers would be dispatched immediately to verify. After hanging up, I sat in the 24-hour convenience store across from the motel, ordered coffee, and drank it slowly, eyes fixed on the entrance. Time ticked by. About 20 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up quietly near the hotel. Several uniformed officers got out and walked straight in. I knew the net was closing. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. The caller identified himself as an officer, confirmed my report, and stated they had located the subjects in a room. He asked me to bring my evidence to the scene to assist the investigation. I put down the coffee, straightened my clothes, calmly crossed the street, and walked into the hotel. The lobby had a few onlookers whispering. Guided by the staff, I arrived at the familiar room door. It was open. Several police officers stood inside. Chloe and Todd stood by the bed, disheveled. Chloe's hair was a mess, her face flushed, but mostly filled with panic. Todd was trying to look tough, but his eyes were darting everywhere. An older officer saw me. "Are you the caller, Ethan Cole?" "I am." I nodded. As soon as Chloe saw me, she reacted like she'd grabbed a lifeline, or maybe a live wire. She shrieked, "Officer, it's him. He's framing us. He's my ex. He's doing this to get back at me. We're just dating. What's wrong with getting a room?" Todd hastily agreed. Right, officer. We're a legitimate couple. This is slander." The officer ignored their shouting and looked at me. "You claim they committed vandalism, robbery, and are involved in solicitation. Do you have evidence?" "Do." I pulled out my phone, unlocked it, pulled up the first video, and handed it over. This is from about 2 hours ago, inside the residence I shared with Chloe Vane. It shows her smashing my personal property and forcibly taking $2,000 from my drawer. The officer took the phone, and his colleagues gathered to watch. The video clearly showed Chloe's manic destruction, the cursing, the snatching of the money, and her final vicious words. "You leave today, You never come back. It was undeniable. Chloe's face went instantly pale. Her lips trembled. She wanted to say something, but no sound came out. I was just angry. That was the compensation he owed me. She tried to argue, but her voice had lost all confidence. I said nothing. I took the phone back and pulled up the second set of evidence. The photos and recording from the hotel entrance. This is from before they entered. Please note, officers, Chloe Vane handed the cash she just stole from me directly to Todd Barrows. Here is the audio. I hit play. Chloe's clear, malicious voice drifted out. Humph, he's leaving anyway. Had to fleece him one last time. He got off easy, followed by Todd's sleazy laugh. Hearing this, not only the police, but even the hotel staff and guests in the hallway looked at them with disgust. Todd's face drained of color, sweat beading on his forehead. Officers, Chloe and I were previously in a relationship. Plenty of mutual friends and chat logs can prove that. However, as of this afternoon, I publicly broke up with her in my office. My colleagues and supervisors can testify to this. I added, my tone steady. The $2,000 was for my work transfer expenses. Its source is clear, backed by withdrawal records. I looked around the room, my gaze finally landing on the ashen-faced Chloe and the panicked Todd. I made my final statement clearly. The facts are simple. She, Chloe Vane, out of resentment from the breakup, trashed my home and stole my money. I pointed at Todd. Then, she took my money and gave it to him, Todd Barrows. My eyes returned to Chloe, filled with cold contempt. Using stolen money to engage in an illicit transaction. Or to put it bluntly, she smashed my house and stole my money to pay for this gigolo. I paused, looking at the lead officer. Caught red-handed. Evidence of vandalism and theft. Evidence of the money transfer. And evidence of their lies, trying to cover it up with a fake relationship story. The chain is complete. Logic clear. Facts orderly. Every word was a slap in their faces. Chloe broke down completely. Her legs gave out, and she would have collapsed if an officer hadn't caught her. She pointed at me, tears and snot running down her face, unable to form a coherent defense, just wailing meaningless noise. Ethan, you won't get away with this. Todd wilted, hanging his head, afraid to look at anyone. The lead officer nodded, his expression stern. He signaled his colleagues. Take them in. We need a full investigation. Two officers stepped forward, placing cold handcuffs on Chloe and Todd respectively. No, I don't want to. Let me go. Chloe struggled and screamed, but it was useless. She was forcibly escorted out. Todd was marched out, head hanging low. Passing me, Chloe shot a look filled with bone-deep hatred and despair. Watching them being hauled away, I added one last thing to the older officer. Officer, regarding the vandalism and theft, I will be pressing full charges and demanding civil restitution. The officer glanced at me and nodded. Don't worry, we'll handle it by the book. You'll need to come to the station for a detailed statement. Of course, cooperating with the police is my duty. I followed the police down the stairs, trailing the whispers and finger-pointing. Chloe and Todd were socially ruined. But that wasn't enough. Legal responsibility, financial restitution, they weren't escaping any of it. The aftermath proceeded like clockwork, cold and efficient. After giving a detailed statement and submitting copies of all evidence, I didn't dwell on it. I handed the civil suit and compensation matters entirely to a lawyer friend. The lawyer told me that with such clear facts and evidence, it was an open and shut case. During this time, Chloe's parents found my number through a chain of acquaintances. On the phone, her mother wept, saying I was too cruel, begging me to let her daughter off, saying Chloe was young and a criminal record would ruin her life. Her father was tougher, but urgent, trying to use 3 years of love to guilt-trip me. I listened, feeling absolutely nothing. I almost wanted to laugh. When Chloe insulted my brothers and robbed me, did they teach her mercy? Now that the consequences were real, they wanted to talk? Too late. I had one sentence for them. The law handles everything. I want every cent of damages. The rest is not my problem. Then I hung up and blocked that number too. Feelings? They ran out the moment she smashed that first picture frame. My lawyer moved fast. Under police investigation and pressure, Chloe and Todd confessed to the vandalism, theft, and the illicit nature of their transaction. The punishment came down quickly. Both received jail time and fines. Todd got a longer stint. More importantly, this record would follow them like a scarlet letter. Regarding financial loss, my list was clear. The value of the smashed collectibles, books, decor, and the stolen cash. Chloe tried to dodge it initially, but under pressure from the authorities and my lawyer, and to argue for leniency, she had to cave. Her meager savings were wiped out. She sold her designer bags, jewelry, and the funds she'd been saving for a new phone, scraping together enough to pay me back. When the lawyer handed me the check, I knew Chloe was left with nothing but the clothes on her back. Social death plus financial zero. For someone as vain as her, that was worse than the jail time. As for Todd, he was drowning in his own mess. Fines, detention, and rumor had it his family was in chaos because of the shame. Their future? I couldn't be bothered to imagine it. Probably just dragging each other deeper into the mud, blaming one another. Once the legal loose ends are tied up, my transfer paperwork was finalized. The day I left, the weather was perfect. Big Mike and Danny took time off to see me off. At the airport security checkpoint, Big Mike slapped my shoulder hard. "Ethan, kill it out there. You flushed the bad luck down the drain. It's a fresh start." Danny grinned. "Hell yeah. Once you're running the show over there, I'm coming to join you." I looked at them, feeling a genuine warmth. The only good thing to come out of that wretched relationship was these true brothers. "All right, don't make it a funeral," I laughed. "Once I'm settled, come visit." Without further words, I took my suitcase from them, turned, and walked towards security. I didn't look back. Through the terminal window, watching the planes take off and land, I took out my phone. I deleted every photo of Chloe, every chat log, clearing out every digital corner that might hold a memory. Then, I transferred the compensation money directly into my long-term investment account. Let that money be the tuition fee for the foolish version of myself, put to work for my new life. The boarding announcement chimed. I turned off my phone, picked up my carry-on, and joined the stream of passengers heading for the jet bridge. The plane punched through the clouds. Looking out the porthole at the city, shrinking below, all the anger, disappointment, and suffocation I felt there seemed to stay trapped in that blurring grid of buildings. A new city, a new project. Everything was fresh. I rented a clean, modern apartment close to the office. I threw myself into work, and thanks to my experience and a ruthless drive to bury the past, I quickly established myself in the new team. The project went smoother than anyone expected. In my downtime, I started hitting the gym, picked up my guitar again, and occasionally went hiking or played ball with like-minded colleagues. Life became simple, full, and focused. No more endless suspicion or arguments. No sudden betrayals or schemes. The number in my bank account grew steadily with my effort. Occasionally, Big Mike would text me some gossip from back home. He hinted that Chloe and Todd had turned on each other the moment they got out, but nobody really cared anymore. I listened calmly, like hearing a story about strangers I'd never met. The dark cloud of the past had been left far behind in that distant city. Sunlight streamed through the window of my new apartment, warm and bright. I stood there, looking down at the vibrant, unfamiliar streets, and took a deep breath of fresh air. Ethan Cole's new life had officially begun. Story complete.